दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, पढ़ाई हो जो करनी, जरा भी ना घबराना, गोल्डन बुक्स को अपनाना, अपना इंडिया, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना। कक्षा विषय कोई हो आसान समझ पाना, गोल्डन ही तो है सफलता का पैमाना, गोल्डन ही ला रहा है चेहरे पे मुस्कुराना, मैं गोल्डन का दीवाना, अपना इंडिया, बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना।
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sanjeev Jaiswal, editor of Golden English Books and coordinator for today's webinar on behalf of New Age International Publishers. I welcome all the distinguished teachers participating in the webinar on the latest curriculum issued by CBSE for the academic year 2022-23 for English language and literature for classes 9th and 10th and English communicative for class 9. With great pleasure, I would like to inform you that the webinar is being attended by teachers from across the country, which is organized by Golden Books published by New Age International Publishers. Now I take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Soumya Gupta. He is the Managing Director of New Age International and is looking after the publishing house for the last 20 years. He holds degrees in BE Chemical and MS Publishing from New York University. Under his able guidance and entrepreneurship, New Age continues to achieve new heights every day. His vision is to publish best quality books for students that are not only tools of literacy, but a medium of education that inspire them to be well-rounded human beings. Now I request sir to kindly join us and say a few words.
Good afternoon to everyone. I welcome all the distinguished participants to this webinar on the latest curriculum issued by CBSE for the current academic session for English language and literature for classes 9th and 10th. I especially welcome Mrs. Rukmini Rai, who will be conducting this webinar along with the panelists who will play an important role during the course of time. New Age International Publishers Golden Books are totally based on NCERT textbooks and are one of the best-selling reference books in not only in India but also in the Middle East countries. Golden books are liked by teachers, students, and their parents alike. As you all know, CBSE keeps on changing curriculum almost every year. So Golden is almost always the first ones to update the books as per the latest curriculum well in time, so that teachers and students do not face any difficulty. For this, we have marketing offices situated all over India in major cities. Our publication house also publishes all major books in schools in all the subjects for all the classes. In Golden all-in-one books from classes 1 to 5th, we have given summary of each chapter along with meanings of difficult words and all the textual exercises of Marigold which are fully solved. Golden English workbooks are also there for classes 1 to 5, which are based on NCERT textbooks Marigold, which are also fully solved. And these workbooks have become the first choice of teachers and students. We do also publish golden workbooks for classes 6 to 10th. These workbooks are also based on NCERT textbooks and they have been acclaimed by all. New Age is one of the first leading publishers, an Indian publisher, to publish class-wise dictionaries for classes 1 to 8. These dictionaries are published in collaboration with Webster's. The words in the dictionaries have been chosen keeping in mind the intellectual capacity of learners at each grade, and meanings have been supplemented with sample sentences and suitable color pictures to enhance their learning. Grammar with Fun for classes 1 to 8 is a complete book of English grammar and composition. These books help the students to clear their doubts in grammar. Dear participants, we will be issuing participation e-certificates to you for attending the webinar. To get the certificates, kindly fill and submit the feedback form which you will receive in the WhatsApp group. You are also requested to email any specimen inquiries for Golden English Books classes 9th and 10th at specimen@newagepublishers.com. I hope this webinar will enlighten all of us with the latest curriculum and development in CBSE for English language and literature for classes 9th and 10th and will enrich you in your teaching endeavor. Thank you so much. Jaiswalji, please continue.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and updating us regarding the golden books. To start the discussion, let me introduce you to the panelists for the webinar. All our panelists are well experienced and have been nurturing students since many years. Let me now give their brief introduction. First of all, I would like to introduce Dr. R.C. Dahiya. Dr. Dahiya, sir, is MA from Delhi University, MPhil and PhD. He is a former associate professor, postgraduate Department of English, CRA College, Sonipat. He is the author of Golden English books like English Language and Literature and Golden Communicative. His books on English grammar for class 9th and 10th is going to be released soon. He is a very hardworking author and he keeps on revising books every year as per the curriculum of the CBSE. Next is Mrs. Kavita Chopra, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Dehu Road, Pune. Mrs. Poonam Kapoor, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Khichadipur, Delhi. Mrs. Vandana Anandani, Vidya Mandir Senior School, Haridwar. Mrs. Anupma Jha, DPS, Secunderabad. Mrs. Esther Dolly Prasad, Endeavour Academy, Bengaluru. Mr. Nabendu Biswas, Principal, Gyan Jyoti Public School, Kanchapara, West Bengal. And Mrs. Vidya Singh, Star Public School, Lamshong, Meghalaya. A warm welcome to all the panelists. Now let me introduce you to Mrs. Rukmini Rai, who will be conducting the webinar. Mrs. Rai is presently serving as PGT at Kothari International School, Noida. She has shouldered the responsibility of a head examiner for English 10th CBSE Board. She has been influencing learners for the last 25 years. Together with her experience, today we have invited her to highlight the changes in CBSE syllabus and share her views on the books published by us in accordance with the latest CBSE syllabus. I hope this webinar will enlighten all of us a bit on this topic and help you all in your teaching endeavors. You all are welcome to clear your doubts and ask questions in the question and answer session. Now I request Mr. Rukmini Rai to kindly join us and enrich us regarding the subject. Mrs. Rai, please.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to all participants. I must first give a disclaimer that I am no expert. It is very kind of Soumya Gupta sir and Sanjeev sir to believe in me that merely sharing my experiences would enthuse all other language teachers. I love my subject, and when I meet and greet language teachers, I remind them with my experience that yes, we are shouldering something responsible. CBSE is always up to some tricks. And once again, there is a huge change that we are not going to have term 1 and term 2 like last year. A provision was made to help out our students who were studying from home. So the pressure was eased out. The other bigger change that they have brought in is that once again, they have brought back the wonderful book of Code 101 for class 9. And I must tell you that Golden Books never leaves an opportunity for its loyalists to complain. They have all worked hard overnight and they are in sync with the requirement by the CBSE curriculum. They have released their books. But before we go to their books, I would like to share some strategies which can come into play. And so today I bring before you the high impact instructional strategies. In Australia, they call it HITS, where instructional is replaced by teaching. And it is a repertoire, a huge bank of ways, strategies, how you can make the learner learn enough and according to your wish and goals. Before that, I would like to share this quote, which I found appropriate for the occasion. In the face of uncertainties, planning defines the particular place you want to be and how you intend to get there. It is not enough to plan after reaching your room. A proper goal setting is extremely important because it is standard-based. What you intend to teach is a plan that you need to keep in mind. You should have clear learning intentions and what is the goal of that lesson. If you put it in context, you will always have better learners all years for the teacher. They need to understand what they need to do. Since many participants requested grammar to be emphasized, how to be taught, I would pick up that topic here. Whether it is class 9th or 10th, we will eventually be teaching them active passive in 9th and reported speech in 10th. So I feel personally that first and foremost, tenses should be reinforced. If you reinforce the tenses, the child has them at his fingertips and would understand all the rules which you share later. Well, lesson writing comes handy when we are doing our bachelor's in education. But why do we drop it later? It's so incidentally, in our school, we have a new principal and she insisted that we write our lesson plans every day, every single day, and share with our peer group. So each one had to write one lesson plan. The quality of teaching escalated like anything, because now we knew exactly what I intended to teach once I entered the room, what my subtopic would be, what duration it would require, what resources I need to carry. And of course, from where do I have to start? So primarily, topic, platform, duration, resources, previous knowledge is all set in the mind. So when you pick up your topic, it becomes easier for the children and children believe in you. Just the other day, one newcomer in class 11, he's enjoying his language classes. So he came and asked, "Ma'am, what are we going to do tomorrow?" Maybe I was charged with this workshop coming in and I had a greater plan the previous 2 days. So he was interested to know what exactly are we going to do tomorrow. So I briefed him and he went very satisfied. So the learning objectives, the learning outcomes, though they sound so similar, but remember, they are different. What exactly are you trying to inculcate in the child? Which value system are you trying to imbibe in the learner? All that has to be kept in mind even before we enter the classroom. And English is not everything that we have here. There has to be a plan and there has to be a structure to make it interesting. Next, I would say explicit teaching. Explicit teaching is, once again, removing all ambiguity from what you're about to do. Don't you recall those teachers during our childhood, one odd teacher would enter the class and fumble through a book. Then she would say that, oh, I have left my book in the staff room, and run back. She had no plan. She's not sure why she is a teacher. So a teacher with proper planning enters confident in a classroom, and she states clearly what are the objectives for the day and around how much work has to be met that particular period. So you always have to keep short-term goals and long-term goals in mind. We cannot obviously finish an entire chapter in a day, but there should be a plan. So once you practice explicit teaching, you will be regarded more as a language teacher, and the subject will grow in status because they would know that the teacher means purpose. She teaches scientifically. It's not a casual subject. And we are bearing the responsibility of spreading the mother tongue, which feeds all other subjects. The child will be able to understand maths better if his English is good. And if he is in the humanities, he will express himself better. So English is everywhere. It is just that we need to charge our students with the knowledge and the aptitude. So when I talk about explicit teaching as a strategy, I mean to say that let's state clearly and in detail, leaving no room for confusion or doubt. Why they are learning something, how it connects to something they know, what is expected from them, how to do it. Then I come to worked examples. Yes, I've been in the profession for last 26 years, and it has given me ample opportunity to experiment. And the ones which have, where I have succeeded, I have shared with my colleagues, and I keep doing them over and over again because of the receiving of the desired result. Now here I would talk about Master Chef. Now you would wonder, why cooking in a language class? And let me share with you, it is miraculous how children enjoy doing it. And I do it for teaching voice, active passive voice. After I share the rules, after they have a revision of the flow chart, after making them realize that how tenses have to be maintained when we are changing active to passive, unlike reported speech, then I ask them no fire cooking, and I influence a smaller group to cook something and discuss about it in the class with imperative verbs and tell them all the details, the process in past tense. 2 cups of water was taken. 2 spoons of sugar were added. And likewise, in the same way, I take another group of children and influence them to make something using present tense. and yet another group a plan what they would do the next day. And it works out beautifully. So yes, friends, a worked example demonstrates the steps required to complete a task or solve a problem. A scaffolding learning approach reduces a cognitive load. The child is more relaxed, and while he's enjoying, he's learning too. Thus, skill acquisition can become easier. When I talk about collaborative tasks strategy, it helps me to explain a common question coming from many of our attendees, and that is analytical paragraphs. Analytical paragraphs are something that we haven't done as children. So why children need to learn that? It is to learn to compare, to understand. We have to remind ourselves that this generation is learning communicative English and not Queen's English. So when they are discussing a graph, when they are trying to understand the economy of the country in comparison to the last 5 years and to the present 5 years, before that, 5 years before that, it's all a comparative study. And here, when we give a question like that in an English question paper, then friends, we want them to use the language. There are times where you cannot do away with the numbers, but I always insist that please use words like has increased, has decreased, has plummeted, has soared higher. In comparison, it is weaker, the adjectives. And the connecting sentences, additionally, it has been seen, or considering the situation, however, these connectors. So besides keeping the numbers in mind, the child has to be taught how to compare graphs, analyze graphs, pie charts, and this can be done in a collaborative way because it's new to the children too, and we can give the same graph in smaller groups and ask them to write what they feel, they observe, they comprehend from those graphs, and all those can be put on board to make a better paragraph. So teaching of analytical paragraph could be done in that way. So I would say collaborative task, it occurs when students work in small groups and everyone participates in a learning task. Everyone is learning in the class, but group A might differ in its perception from group B. And so might group B be different from group C. But that's what a teacher's role is, to help them meet the demand of the task. Learning is supported by designing meaningful tasks. It involves students actively participating in negotiation roles, responsibilities, and outcomes. So it's always fun when there is a positive, noisy class, constructive, noisy class. We should never expect a child to be always quiet. There should be. I like talkative children because there is so much room to channelize his energy. Multiple exposure. Yes, the methods that we use, the famous 5 E's, it is part of the lesson plan, but I kept it separately because I wanted to emphasize more on them. That how do we engage the children? How do we trigger that quest of learning? What do they explore? What do I explain? What do I elaborate? And how do I evaluate them? Here, I would cite the example of story writing. I believe that during lockdown, we were using a lot of internet, and it made language development easier than a room without a smart board. And how I would share. I used to show across classes 9th or 7th or 8th or even 6th, the same stories, possibly something from Jataka, something from Panchtantra. And I would stop at places for them to note vocabulary from the stories. And after that, according to their maturity, I asked the varied age students to write a story. And I gave them the freedom of twisting the story or creating an absolutely parallel story, something different, rename the name, characters and write their own stories. Now that encourages abstract thinking, that encourages creativity, and that excites the child to do his task. The same story is not fun. And here I will share with you a very old experience. I believe it was around the first few years of my job when I was still struggling to understand what exactly I should do. And I felt very complexed when, in spite of all devotion, my group of children were not speaking English. And the parallel class teacher, her children only spoke in English. So I came back to my class and I asked them, yesterday you embarrassed me. You all were talking in Hindi. I worked so hard. Why is it that you all are not able to? And gradually, I found a way. I started reading out stories to them. Small paragraphs. Every day, if they were well behaved, I would read out a story and they would narrate it the next day. And voila, very soon my class adapted to spoken English. Yes, as language teachers, we are their godmother, and only our magic can create absolutely a different world for them. So we need to work at their spoken English and multiple exposure. We have tab labs, we have computers, we have smart boards, we have the opportunity to take the children on a trip. As things normalize, we need to, enjoy our role as a teacher and help them enjoy. They should have stories to narrate when they grow up. Questioning. Yes. Here I will share, I had attended myself a very profound workshop, which was teaching senior secondary students, and I learned a valuable thing in that workshop. It was about focused reading. Do not have reading of the chapter too often. It bores the children. One child is reading and rest of the 24 kids, they know it's not their turn, so they sleep through the reading. But if you prepare and go with 4 questions, write it on the board and ask the children, can you please read and find the answers? And that would be focused reading. It's a very powerful tool. And it's a good strategy where literature becomes your thinking tank, your treasure to even teach grammar. In classes 9, 10, 10 also, we can just stop and tell the children, how about underlining all the adjectives on page 36 and circling adverbs? It would be a change in task and children will definitely enjoy. So questioning is something that gets a report about your teaching styles too. And it is very disheartening. As you go up, the graph goes down. In class 12, they have mastered the technique of sleeping in the class with eyes open. Never have 100% reading class. Always accompany it with questioning so that the child is alert and connected to the course material that is being shared with him. For this it supports the informal or formative assessment too. Now we come to metacognitive strategies. In metacognitive, did I press it? I had one more. Metacognitive strategies is that this teaches students to think about their thinking. When students become aware of the learning process, they gain control over the learning. If we have teachers in the audience who teach class 12 language, then they are familiar with the poem Keeping Quiet. It is an opportunity when you are sitting still, you have an opportunity to introspect. What am I learning? How much am I learning? Why I'm learning this? If you put it in context, how many times or how many teachers would have stopped to ask a child, why do you read reported speech? Why do you have to learn active passive? So you have to put it in context that when you write an answer, it may have the content, but that is what that reported knowledge of reported speech alone differentiates the standard of one answer to another. A child who is unfamiliar with reported speech will write, I brought it here. He has to be in a narrative tone. And that helps him to have an edge over average students. So put it in context, whatever the child is learning, why? And then he has better control and interest in learning. I want you to focus on the very famous cartoon that has been doing circles in the media and otherwise in the line of education. It shows that the teacher has a variety of animals in the class, but ignoring the ability of individuals, he is asking all of them, judging all of them to climb the tree. The monkey will do it well, but the fish would not know to. The elephant would not know how to. So keeping that in mind, that a class has differentiated group, mixed group, we cannot give common tasks. And that is where golden books come into action. We have such a wide variety of worksheets, pullouts, references, that within a class, you can be prepared in a solid way. As I told you, you need to have a goal setting, and you can give tasks photocopied according to the children that you are addressing. Please do not make that mistake of giving one task to everyone. You have to be sensitive. And I say this with experience. This year, I have children with learning disabilities in my class. At the same time, I have the toppers. And peer sharing is a wonderful way of bridging the gap between a weak and a smart kid. Because the smart kid is then not ignored and he gets to explain what he has understood, and it somehow bridges the gap. Or you can make peer groups, peer pairs, where one bright and one child with learning disabilities into pairs and they can help each other. There are many ways. And we are blessed section of the society where we are making a difference. We are preparing children for the future. And let us be remembered as a sensitively involved teacher who had strategies and lots of ideas in her bag, and she would juggle one after another. Let us not be that predictable teacher who comes, she is bored with life, gets the reading done, completes her syllabus, least bother. No, I don't think so anyone would be like that anymore, because this millennial always makes us be alert. They are very demanding. With this, I end sharing of strategies. And now I will step into the world of golden books, which is one-stop opportunity. It answers all that I have listed as an answer to the needs of a learner. Now, every section, that's a misprint, every section the books are printed, including the changes in the syllabus, comprehension, writing skills, grammar, literature, and it has additional books too. And we always have to be ready for the changes that CBSE dictates. As of now, we have a 80 marks paper, no two term. So we go back to our old ways of preparing children for the board exams. I have tried to structure a comparative study of syllabus change between, give me a minute. I'll come to that. So we have a question paper where we have discursive passage of 400 to 450 words. Then we have case-based passage. So comprehension is something which we should never ignore. And it's the best answer to a tired teacher. We sometimes have too many things on our mind. That's the best way to do comprehension. And if you have not carried a golden book to the class, then you have one more way. A chapter which you have not taught yet. Just give it for comprehension. Ask them to answer a few questions from the end of the exercise. That can become handy. And why not? You can pick up any other subject book and give it for comprehension. That, okay, find the answer of these questions. So it can give you a little respite. Grammar syllabus has been listed over here. Creating writing has been written. Diary entry is in class 9th and not 10th. They had made a big blunder this time by giving it in the CBSE finals. We have 40 marks of literature where the marking might still change. So we have to be alert about it. They will give choices. They ask us to give choices, and it is extract RTC based. And 40 marks is a huge amount of marks. So the child has to be prepared thoroughly. Reading comprehension, writing skill, and grammar. Language through literature. As I had mentioned in the lessons, that we have to focus. What competencies do you wish to inculcate in your child? Is it conceptual understanding? Then you have to give him a comprehension. Are you trying to develop opinion, reasoning, writing style, fluency, then writing skill? And if you want the child to appreciate a poem or apply literary conventions, then it's the turn of literature. So these are the competencies that have to be kept in mind while doing the lesson plan. This is a summary of how many periods you should be giving, a duration that comes from CBSE. This is for class 9 CBSE, 20, 25 which includes story writing. So we have to prepare children for writing stories, which they either write too short or they write it too long. So we have to develop that skill that just like a camera comes closer. First the setting, then the characters, then action. And not necessarily every story should have a moral ending. For writing skills, notice writing, dialogue writing, informal letter, and paragraph writing. Yes, whenever any child asks me, ma'am, how do we crack integrated grammar? Determiners is the first thing that I teach in the lower classes. Determiners, it helps children to sort out all their difficulties about A and all the other determiners. Once again, it is emphasizing competencies, demonstrative knowledge, conceptual application, formulation analysis, evaluation, and creativity. Here I have listed what has been deleted and what has been added in class 10. In first flight, the 100 dresses, part 1 and 2 has been deleted. Poem animals, and in footprints, the hack driver. It was such an interesting, it's so sad. Children will not experience this. And this is it, which you can use for comprehension. And what has been added, which wasn't there last year, that is first flight, how to tell wild animals, trees, Mijbil the Outer, for Annie Gregory, the Midnight Visitor, very interesting, A Question of Trust, I love this story, The Book That Saved the Earth. It's a little long, but yes, we have to do it. In reading skills, we have case-based and factual passages and discursive passages. This is a glimpse of our golden book, and it has included comparative analysis based on graphs. In the grammar section, we have gap filling, editing, transformation exercises. And these are some pages that we have. And very conveniently, you can just get them photocopied. And you can just, instead of golden, you can put the name of your school and just use it. Why don't we give experiential learning to our children? Let us make them do a lot of written work. Again, gap fillings, jumbled up words, direct, indirect, formal letter and analytical paragraphs, changing fashions. This does not have a graph, so it's easier to write for a child. When you have graphs, then the child is confused that I should not miss out any number. But ask him that he has to give a bird's view of the entire graph. So he has to use words to describe it. Then section C, literature, we have questions based on extract, short answer questions, very long answer questions. So we have from Lencho. Look at the variety of questions. It is not only end of the chapter question answers, but the child gets enough practice on a variety of questions. They are simple and they're easy to understand. And if any difficulty, a mini dictionary is also given with every syllabus. It becomes a self-help book for people who do not have anyone to help with studying. It's written in Hindi, so the child finds it easier to understand the story and the concept, the essence of the answer. Now, this is for class 9th. We have done similar hard work for class 9th as well. They have comprehensions. We will not get any more objective questions. They have notice writing, dialogue writing, informal letter writing, paragraph writing, and story writing as well. This is now for class 9th. Their work, it's a rich book. And the best part is that we have, this is for class 9th, short type, long type. And that brings us to the wonderful workbook and assignments. This is what I was talking about. If you want to engage your class, either you can prescribe this book for your class, or you can make it a weekend workbook for the class. It can be prescribed in schools, and children will get ample worksheets and the work of the teachers will lessen. Or if the school doesn't appreciate using of another label, then you can, ask them to use it at home, make questions from this for your exam, and that will increase the popularity of the book. So I will show you all the books. This is Beehive and Moments. This is First Flight in Footprints Without Feet. We have workbook and assignments. And we come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we will take question and answer session. Please be with us. Rukmini, ma'am.
Yes, I'm very much here.
Now, one of the teachers, there was developing reading habits in youngsters.
Reading habits in youngsters, it's a philosophical question. When we stop watching television, there will be an atmosphere when children will take to books. In my own household, my daughter's room was not provided with a television, and she always had to argue with her father for the remote in my room. And gradually, both my children took to reading. And then we thought that in adversity also, there is hope. So reading is, yes, with reward and punishment, you can inculcate. The whole family should sit and read together. That this is our 1 hour reading time after dinner, after supper. So that will help.
Second is formats of writing skills.
For formats for writing skill, I would only request Soumya sir and Sanjeev sir that we can have a workshop exclusively for grammar or for writing skills, and I can share that with you. At the same time, the book is brilliantly done. If you purchase a book of Golden, you will find all the writing skills formatted in it. But if you want to be part of a workshop, then we can request Sanjeev sir for another.
Next one is teaching English with guidelines under NEP 2020.
NEP 2020 is more alarming for teachers, which has come as a pleasant breeze that we are now not going to get teachers by default. We are going to get people who are totally focused and they wish to become teachers. So in NEP, at different the basic teaching and satisfying the learner remains the same. The child is not affected. You and I as teachers are affected.
Now, one ma'am is asking, children's attention deficit in classroom. What is the reason of children not they are not attentive in the class?
I understand. Imagine the kind of entertainment that we get on Netflix, the kind of entertainment we get on our televisions, movie theaters. It's a huge drop when they come to school. They are bored of listening to our voices. So I personally feel that a class should have 50-50. 50 means 50 of learning, sharing, participation, and 50 written work. Every class should be divided into written work. and sharing. That gets a better control over the children. I have a different problem because I teach senior children. They're always sleepy. I give them 10 minutes break because we are having these days an hour class. And after 50 minutes, when I say, okay, 10 minutes for breathing, I just joke like that. And the first thing they do, they want to catch some sleep. They don't sleep enough. So this is a universal problem. And attention, yes, some children, we have to have a better class control. Besides the quality of teaching, we have to be sure how we reward and punish. If we make clear rules in the beginning of a class, then children will understand that this teacher means business. We can't mess with her. At the same time, we have to befriend them and understand.
Okay. Can you tell about marking scheme?
Marking scheme, it remains the same. We have just recently corrected 1600 copies for class 10. So the marking scheme was pretty lenient for class 10. Pretty lenient. Yes, for formats, we had to allocate separate marks, and for fluency and content separately.
And what about competency-based reading?
Just the way I told you, that sometimes it can be analytical, sometimes it can be based on grammar, and sometimes it can be based on comprehension. As I shared with you, that if you make 4 questions and write it on the board and ask the children to read a particular page and answer those questions, or a chapter which is not taught yet, you write the 4 names of the characters and ask them that try to find the adjectives which suits them. And eventually you can develop that into a character sketch. So that helps in competency of reading. And the child is focused. Why he's reading? He's trying to look for adjectives to describe the particular character.
What are the ways for improving comprehensive skills?
Comprehension is something that we need to help children to become street smart. It can be as simple as sticking pictures of advertisements, showing it to the class and ask them to just comprehend what is it trying to tell. Or you refer to some advertisements and ask them what were they trying to tell. That is comprehension. And comprehension is in play all the time. As I shared earlier, we can also pick any subject book and ask them. And one traditional way is that you purchase book and make children practice. Without practice, they will not develop the skill of comprehending.
One, Mrs. Babita Sharma, she asked, how can we help students to enhance their writing skills?
In writing skills, as I told you, for story writing, you can share stories. Children can get opportunity to narrate. You can create a word bank, and then you can ask them to develop the story with those words.
Suma Ji, yeah, asked, do you have any book for integrated grammar exercise alone? Yes, we are coming with that soon. We are releasing it. And ma'am, what about pattern of exam and how to prepare the students?
Now we have gone back to the previous pattern, which you and I are accustomed to. So we are going to prepare them just like that, the entire syllabus. God forbid that there is another lockdown, right? Then in that case, we are familiar with this pattern of exam.
I don't think any more questions are there.
I read one more question about art integrated project. every school is taking it up, which has to be beyond the books. It has to be beyond the books. Like for class 12, we are asking children to listen to podcasts and then write a report. And also to make a PPT after viewing a pop show. Because children love that. So we had to come down to that. So they are going to submit it according to their taste. Yet in another class, we have given children to make a newspaper. We have allowed them to type out the articles, but all kinds of write-ups which they were doing in the session till now. They started their classes, class 10 started the classes from the month of March. So we have asked them to create a newspaper by writing the editorial, by giving some reports. So some process writing, something, some jokes. So that way we have given. That is how we are giving art integrated.
Now we have a few more questions now.
Sir, portfolio was something typically which was started during the lockdown. There has been no word about it yet. But if it does come, then what is portfolio? It is just an album which will have all details of the child, be it the test papers, be it the projects, be it the art integrated project, everything will be filed.
Okay. Rukmini ma'am?
Yes, sir.
I think there are no further questions. So now I would like to conclude. Thank you very much, ma'am, for guiding us regarding the latest curriculum and explaining us in detail about the new pattern issued by CBSE for class 9th and 10th exams. Now, I would also like to thank Soumya sir, all our panelists, and last but not the least, our distinguished teachers for sparing their valuable time and participating in this webinar and making it a success. Here, I would also like to thank all the New Age webinar team members for their hard work and making this webinar a great success. Dear participants, to receive your specimen copies of Golden English books, you are requested to kindly mail your details at specimen@newagepublishers.com. You will receive a feedback form after the webinar. Kindly fill it up and submit it to get your e-certificate. You can download it from there only. Please, you all are requested not to post any messages for not receiving e-certificates or specimen copies. Just write your concern to us. Now it's time for us to take leave. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, पढ़ाई हो जो करनी, जरा भी ना घबराना, गोल्डन बुक्स को अपनाना, अपना इंडिया, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना। कक्षा विषय कोई हो आसान समझ पाना, गोल्डन ही तो है सफलता का पैमाना। दीवाना, चेहरे पे मुस्कुराना, मैं गोल्डन का दीवाना, अपना इंडिया। बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन बुक्स का दीवाना, गोल्डन